here. I have a student who is able to follow written instructions while having difficulties responding to verbal instructions. You know, there's no Mary comment. There's no hearing problems. There's no medical issues. Are there any intervention ideas to try? Yeah. You know, I had this as well. You know, we had a student who couldn't follow, like for the life of me, couldn't do receptive labels, like couldn't do them. Yet, you know, you'd write something down, or there'd be something visual, could match to sample, no problem, but just couldn't seem to pick up that language nuance. So, you know, a couple programs, again, I don't know your learner, but let's pretend that learner is my learner. And, you know, what we did was a program whereby we had him identify an instrument based on the sound of the instrument. It sounded kind of silly, but we had 3 instruments out and they were different sounding. So we had a tambourine, I think we had drums, and we had bells or something. They all sounded very different from each other. We might have had like a noisy car and a bell, and bear with me, it was a couple years ago. But anyway, we had those 3 things out, and we would shake one and then have him shake it. Shake one and then have him shake it. And then what we did is we got like double of the instruments or of the different noise things. And we still had the 3 things out, but we put our set behind our back. And then he had his set out still. And then I would shake the bell, and he'd have to pick up the bell and shake it. So he was basically matching to sample, but he was matching the sound to the sound. And that worked for him. There was some kind of trigger. And then what we did is we paired in the word maraca as we shook the maraca, bells as we shook the bells, car as we roomed the car. And that worked for him. Other kids, you know, what you could do is you could have some type of text cue. So if he's reading the text cue and able to follow the instructions. So just from your question, you know, he's reading the text cue and it says clap hands, and he's able to do it, but he's not able to follow the instruction clap hands. You know, you could fade that text cue out by pairing the text cue with the verbal. So it would be clap hands, and then what you could do is maybe you fade it left to right, so it just says clap, it doesn't say hands, and you say clap hands, right? And then eventually, instead of just getting rid of the text cue altogether, I've had some learners who actually need a blank card. There's no text on there, but there's a blank card, and for some reason they're able to respond to the instruction with that blank card out.
And it's not uncommon that our students respond so much better to visual cues. And that's why we use so many visual schedules and text schedules. They process it so much better. So some of the things, even if you're not able to fade the text cue or the visual cue completely, it's okay, because they could always have some sort of visual cue as long as you fade it to like the most you can, and so that it's just manageable. They could always have a visual schedule or text schedule with them. And then using that, I'm not even sure what that would be called, but like the fading, the written prompt, systematically fading it so that you end up with a blank and then with no written prompt at all is very effective.